Hello, here's a tutorial that will show you some of the features of Adobe Illustrator's tools to draw shapes of different types. Right now I have a collection of them using the various tools that you have in your toolbar. You have rectangles and squares of different shapes and of different sizes. These are some rectangles, but the corners are rounded. Another tool will draw circles and ellipses. Another tool will draw polygons with almost any number of sides that you want. And another tool will make stars with any number of points that you want. And also you can modify those as well. One thing to know from the start is an awful lot of what you do, these modifications happen when you use the Alt key, or sometimes marked as Option on a Mac, the Command key on a Mac, which is also Control on your PC, the Shift key, and the arrow keys. Holding down or touching these while you make those shapes results in some form of modification. If you can remember those keys, then you'll do a good job modifying them as you make them. So all these tools that make all these shapes are right here under this icon, which is the fourth one down. Typically it's showing the rectangle tool. Now first what I'm going to do is clear all these out of the way so I have some space to work. I'll now select my rectangle tool, and what I'm going to make is a square, a rectangle, a rectangle. You draw and you hold the cursor as you move, and you can get any kind of form that you want. Important thing to know is that as you draw it, if you hold the Shift key, then you will get a perfect square. If you hold the Alt key or Option, then it will draw that shape with the center exactly where you started. So as an example, I'm going to make two guidelines here. If I want to draw a shape starting right here at the intersection, I would hold the Alt key. You can see the cursor change, and as I pull out, the center always stays the same at the intersection of those two guidelines. I'll now move some of these things out of the way. The next tool in the toolkit is the rounded rectangle tool. It works in the same way, except the shapes all come with the rectangle with rounded corners. Now I lost my color here. One way to get that back is to select the object by pressing V. Then I'm going to go over here to my color palette, which is one of the icons. These things keep out of the way until you need them. One thing you can do is grab the color palette and pull it down. It gives you a few more, it gives you the ability to choose more carefully. So I'll now pick that as the color that will be adopted by any shapes that I make. So I go over, I reselect my tool, and whatever I'm making will have rounded corners. I'm going to draw out a really large one so that you can see what happens. I haven't yet let go of the mouse, and if I press the arrow key up, you can see that it's rounding the corners even more. I get that. If I press the arrow key down, you can see the corners becoming sharper and sharper. So using the arrow keys are one way to modify the amount of round that you have in the shape. So if you have a specific arc in mind, then you should be able to do that. The third tool in the toolkit is the ellipse tool, and what it will do is draw ellipses of various types. As you draw and pull it out, you can make it as elliptical or as circular as you want. It's easy to make perfect circles, just like making a square. If you hold the Shift key as you draw out the circle, then it will always end up being a perfect circle. And just like using the rectangle tool, if you hold the Alt key, then as you draw it out, the center will be maintained. If you hold the Shift and the Alt together, then you can draw a perfect circle originating in any point that you choose. The next tool in the toolkit is the polygon tool. And right now, it looks like it's got 8 sides. I'm going to press the arrow key down. I'm going to start with a triangle. You can see as you draw it out, you can move it around. Watch, I'm going to press the Shift key now, and the Shift key straightens it out. So if you need a triangle with a straight bottom, then that's what you would do. So I'll now draw out another one, and I'm going to press the arrow key up once, and I get 4 sides. I'm going to draw another. I'm going to press the arrow key up again. I have a pentagon. Press the arrow key up again. I have 6 sides. Press the arrow key up again. 7 sides, and so forth. You can just keep on going until you have so many sides they'll practically look round. Again, on every single one of these, as you draw them, they're going to be wobbly unless you hold down the Shift key. I'm turning it off and on right now. If you hold down the Shift key, then it's going to make the bottom flat or perfectly horizontal. The last tool in the toolkit is the star tool. And the star tool will draw out a star. This one has 5 points. Usually that's the default. But if I press the arrow key down, I'm going to get a triangle. That's the fewest points you've got. You can make a 4-pointed star. We'll change the color on that so they look different. You can draw it again. I'm going to arrow up. Now I have a 5-pointed star. But just to show one subtle difference, as I draw the same star again, what happens if I press the Shift key or the Alt key as I do it, it changes the orientation of what we'll call the shoulders of the star. You can see that here they're flat and here they have kind of an angle to them. So I'm going to continue to draw stars holding the arrow key. So now I have a 6-pointed star, and I can draw that same 6-pointed star pressing the Alt key. I'm going to arrow up again and make a 7-pointed star. I can also press the Alt key. So if you use those things, you can make a star with any number of points that you want. So quick review, all the tools are nested here under what is usually shown to be the rectangle tool. You're generally using either the Alt or Command or Shift or arrow keys to modify them. I hope that makes the shapes that you need in your next project.